quid pro quo. The act of offering something of value in exchange for something else. That is at the center of why yesterday Nancy Pelosi officially launched an impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump. Because recently we've been made aware that in a phone call with the Ukrainian president, Donald Trump threatened to withhold foreign aid that was allocated by Congress already, unless the Ukrainian president reopens corruption investigations into Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. Was it wrong, corrupt, unethical, possibly even illegal that Donald Trump did this? Yes. But anyone who's trying to draw a line right there and pretend that the only scandal here is Donald Trump bribing the Ukrainian president to reopen an investigation into Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, they are either lying or incredibly ignorant and don't know the full story. And this is one of those stories where it just makes crystal clear who the hacks and people suffering from a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome are. Because it is literally the very same crowd that was pushing this Russiagate bullshit for 3 years. An unfounded conspiracy that the president of the United States colluded with the Russian government to steal the 2016 election. And now the president of the United States is a Russian agent, an active Russian agent, because he's in debt to Vladimir Putin for helping him win. The very same people who pushed that bullshit uncritically for 3 years, the useless corporate Democrats in the House like Adam Schiff, who has said or done nothing of substance since Trump's been president, spend all his time and resources chasing down this bullshit Trump-Russia conspiracy theory. You have the mainstream media who pushed Russiagate endlessly for 3 years. They talked about it more than literally all other news stories combined. And the entire time they were doing it, it was just conjecture and conspiracy theorizing and hyperventilating about bombshell smoking gun stories that ended up being false. And also people in new media who went along and did the same exact shit. And I'm talking about David Pakman, I'm talking about Cenk Uygur and people at TYT. All those people have latched onto this Joe Biden Ukraine story after the Mueller investigation and this whole Russiagate scandal imploded and made them all look like fucking fools. They've latched onto this scandal and now they're saying, oh, this is it. This is the one. Now everybody, I know I was dead wrong for 3 years about one story, but you got to trust me on this. This is the most egregious thing Trump's done and we have to impeach him for it. Now, what are they conveniently leaving out? Some of them are just flat out trying to cover it up. They're leaving out the fact that there is there when it comes to corruption between Joe Biden and his son and the Ukrainian government or Ukrainian politics. But more than that, what they're saying is the heart of this issue is that Trump threatened to withhold aid to the Ukrainian government unless he got an unethical, possibly illegal favor in return. But the problem with that is there is a literal video of Joe Biden bragging about doing the same exact thing, if not worse, because Joe Biden was trying to bribe the Ukrainian president to fire a prosecutor that was investigating corruption linked to Joe Biden. And none of these people, not a goddamn soul, none of these people hyperventilating or clutching their fucking pearls about Trump doing this said a goddamn word about it when Joe Biden was publicly bragging about doing the same exact thing when he was in the Obama administration. Not one of them said, oh, this is it. Joe Biden and Obama, they've crossed the line and we have to do impeachment. Not a goddamn soul said that.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko. They would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
So I want to be clear, that video is disgusting. And I first saw it when this video first came out. I forget if it was 2017 or 2016. But back then, I wasn't doing the show. But since I did start the show, I've been meaning to do a video about it because that is so thoroughly disgusting and such a great encapsulation of U.S. imperialism, the U.S. using money to leverage and bully other countries into doing our bidding. And it just shows how brazen and out in the open US politicians are with the corruption. They don't care. But what I didn't know at the time was this prosecutor that Joe Biden is bragging about getting fired was investigating Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and the oil company that he was on the board of. Now, before Hunter Biden came onto the board of this company, they already had problems with corruption. And for some reason, they hire Hunter Biden, who had absolutely no experience in the fossil fuel industry, had absolutely no experience in Ukrainian politics or law. So why on earth would they hire Hunter Biden to be on the board of their company getting paid $50,000 a month? Well, the most obvious explanation is they wanted someone with direct connections to the White House so that they can get favors and possible contracts and subsidies. And that is incredibly clear when people went and try to figure out exactly what Hunter Biden did at that company. If you go and ask that company now, hey, what was Hunter Biden's, what was his job description? What was he doing for your company? They would say he was the head of a legal division for the company. But Hunter Biden came out and contradicted that and said he was never in charge of any of the company's legal affairs. So a company that you're getting paid $50,000 a month at, you two can't seem to get the story straight on what you were actually doing at that company. So again, it seems like this is just rank corruption. They're giving Hunter Biden $50,000 a month to do nothing just because he's a vice president's son and he has direct connections to the White House and he could get them favors in return. That's all it looks like to me. But this isn't the only instance of Hunter Biden profiting off of his dad's positions of power. There's also questions about the work that he was doing when he was in China and quid pro quo there. So if anyone wants to be honest and objective about the situation, even though Trump was wrong to basically bribe the Ukrainian president to reopen the investigation and it's unethical, possibly illegal, we can admit that and at the same time say, you know what, Trump has a point because Joe Biden and Hunter Biden look like they're corrupt as fuck. But there's a whole other layer of hypocrisy in this thing. So the other thing that everyone is clutching their pearls about is, oh my God, look at Donald Trump. Here he goes again, getting help from a foreign country in U.S. elections. He's trying to get dirt on Joe Biden so that he could use on him in the general election. Is it unethical? Maybe. Is it sleazy? Yeah, maybe. But did the Democrats do the same exact thing? You bet your fucking ass they did. Where do you think all this dirt on Paul Manafort came from? Everyone, literally everyone knew how corrupt and dirty and sleazy and in the gutter Paul Manafort has been his entire career, working with the sleaziest, most corrupt characters in politics in the United States and also in other countries. Paul Manafort has a name. He is known for being a political hatchet man who would do whatever you pay him to do. So at any point in Paul Manafort's decades-long career, anyone could have opened an investigation into him and find all the shit that they found that they've prosecuted him for. The money laundering, the tax evasion, fraud, illegal lobbying. At any point in his career, you could have found all those things. But why did those things just come up? It was because Paul Manafort was Donald Trump's campaign manager, and the Democrats wanted dirt on Paul Manafort to make Donald Trump look bad because, oh, look how corrupt his campaign manager is. They're opening an investigation into him for money laundering and fraud and all of this stuff. Wow, doesn't Donald Trump look so bad? That was the Democrats' intent. So the DNC or the Clinton campaign paid for political operatives in Ukraine to dig up dirt on Paul Manafort. So that is a clear example of the DNC, the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Democratic Party, paying to get dirt on their political opponents for an election. The same exact thing, their hair is on fire, that Donald Trump did. And you know what? This isn't even one of those things where I need to paint some type of colorful analogy so that you can see how these things are the same. It is literally the same exact people, the same exact players, the same exact country, Ukraine, the same exact issue, whether it's bribing the Ukrainian president for unethical favors or paying a foreign government to get dirt on your political opponent. It is literally the same exact situation, same exact scenario, but the roles are reversed. That is literally the only difference. And this is just one of those stories that shows the rank, disgusting hypocrisy in politics. The Democrats, for a fucking fact, would have never impeached Barack Obama over this. Never. Joe Biden went out and bragged that he did this in public, where Nancy Pelosi ain't make a goddamn peep about it. Nobody made a peep about it because it was fine. It's accepted. That's what we do with the United States government, baby. This is the White House we're talking about. We're talking about the president. He does whatever the fuck he wants. He wants to bribe the Ukrainian government to fire a prosecutor investigating corruption that could be tied back to his vice president. Fuck it. He's Barack Obama. He can do it. But it's Trump. Oh, no. This is the red line. This is it. I can't believe Trump went this far and is bribing a foreign government. Like, come the fuck on. Come on. And of course the Republicans are hypocrites too, because they were offended when the Democrats were doing the exact same thing, and now they're out there defending Trump when he's accused of doing the same exact thing. Now I want to get into the impeachment inquiry launched by Nancy Pelosi real quick. Now I want to be clear. Months ago, I did a video where I made my position on impeachment clear. Back when there were a lot of people in progressive independent media that I usually agree with saying that they were against impeachment, period, in general. The position I had was, how can you say that? Because it's clear that Trump is violating the Constitution brazenly. Whether it's the corruption, the violating the emoluments clause, the war crimes, the trying to illegally sell Saudi Arabia nuclear technology, or facilitating their genocide in Yemen, all because they've given him money. All of those things are outrageous and flagrantly violate the Constitution and are just illegal. And in the United States, for the entirety of modern history, all of U.S. presidents have been lawless, and it's only been getting worse. You have George Bush start a whole fucking illegal war in Iraq, kill over 1 million civilians, and did it for profit of the military-industrial complex and the fossil fuel companies who went in there and stole their oil. Fucking bonkers. The torture network, the illegal mass surveillance, and then Barack Obama comes in and expands all of those things. And now we have a President Donald Trump who's even more lawless. So the point I was trying to make is, if not now, then when? When do we draw the line? Or is there just not no line? Is the Constitution just a suggestion and the U.S. president is actually really a dictator and he can break all the laws he wants with no consequence? He'll never be impeached for it. There'll never be any criminal investigations about it because he's a U.S. president. Is that where we are? Because that's a scary thought. So my position has always been, I don't care how the Democrats end up looking if they impeach Trump, but they have to impeach him over all these areas that I just mentioned where he's brazenly violating the Constitution and he's basically daring anybody to check him on it. Because if you don't do it, then either Donald Trump or some president after him is going to keep pushing the line, and it's going to keep getting further and further until I don't know when. So my position has always been, there has to be a line and we need to draw it. But what I've always been against is trying to impeach him over bullshit like that Russiagate scandal, and now trying to impeach him over this Ukraine bullshit. And the reason why I was against impeaching him on those things is because those aren't even rock solid cases. Trump might actually be able to present a legitimate defense, and win an impeachment case. And if he does that, that would be the biggest fucking L the Democrats could take. And then yes, I would then make the argument that it's just bad political strategy, because when Trump gets that W, Democrats gonna have a big fucking egg on their face. So yeah, then I'll add in the political argument. But here we are. Nancy Pelosi has already started official impeachment proceedings over this Ukraine bullshit, and can't put the cat back in the bag. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's out there, and there's only going forward from here. So the best we can hope for is that the Democratic Party, who has showed record-breaking, historic incompetence and ineptness, not just in the Trump administration, for as long as I could remember, the Democrats were weak and feckless under the Obama administration. They damn sure got steamrolled under George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. The Democrats never fight for the right position. They get steamrolled, and they are basically not an opposition party. So the Democrats might literally be the most ineffective political party in the history of the world. And I'm being dead serious. I cannot think of a political party more useless than the Democrats. So the best we can hope for right now is that they don't bungle this in such an epic fashion that we all know they're liable to do. So what do I hope happens with these impeachment proceedings? For the love of God, do not make this Ukraine shit the whole focus. Do not center it on it. Do not put all your eggs in that basket, because I'm telling you, you're going to drop that fucking basket and your eggs are going to break and you're going to be sitting there looking fucking stupid. So if that's the catalyst that she's using to start the impeachment proceedings, I can't do anything about it. It's already started. But the Democrats, and it's incumbent on progressives like AOC and the others in Congress, Ilhan Omar, they need to drive the conversation, and it needs to be focused on all of the rock solid arguments as to why Trump should be impeached. And I'm talking about the emoluments clause. I'm talking about the fucking corruption. I'm talking about his connections to the Israeli government and him assisting them in genocide and war crimes. I'm talking about him assisting the Saudi government in their genocide because he got paid to do it. That should be the focus of the impeachment proceedings. Because here's the thing. If you want to focus on this Ukraine thing, it is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight all over Congress and the Senate over this, and the Republicans are going to make some damn good points. Some of the points that I made earlier about how Joe Biden is actually corrupt, and there should actually be a corruption investigation into Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And they're going to make the points about how the Democrats did the same exact thing when it comes to getting dirt on a political opponent for your election. They did the same exact thing, and nobody made a big deal out of it. So if you want to focus on this Ukraine shit, the Republicans are going to put up one hell of a fight, and I'm almost sure they'll steamroll the Democrats. And when in the Senate they don't vote to convict and they slap down this whole impeachment bullshit, everyone in the country is going to look at it and say, oh, the Republicans kind of have a point and the Democrats look really bad here. So to avoid all that, focus on the things that are just not debatable. This genocide in Yemen is unconstitutional, and Trump is so invested in it because he's gotten money directly from the Saudi government. Let this impeachment proceeding get to the Senate, and the Democrats make that case. Let Bernie Sanders make that case on the floor of the Senate. Any Republican who tries to say, yeah, all that shit is true, and of course there's going to be a mountain of evidence. There's subpoena documents. They'll have the records from the Trump hotels where the Saudis have been staying at. They have the numbers of the actual devastation happening in Yemen. It'll be a damning indictment of Donald Trump. And any Republican who will see all that evidence that is public, this proceeding will be public for the world to see. If they hear all that and say, yeah, I don't give a fuck, I'm not going to impeach him anyway, the Democrats aren't going to look bad. The Republicans will look bad. So if you have these impeachment proceedings focused on things that are just not debatable and clear cut, Donald Trump is dead wrong and possibly doing illegal actions, then I see it very likely being a win-win for the Democrats. Because either you have the Republicans on record saying, yeah, I don't give a fuck, I'll support a lawless authoritarian dictator, and no matter what he does, I will never impeach him. Okay, you can take that stance, but once all that evidence has been made public and the world sees it, and the country sees it, the voters in this country see it, and they still see you being so subservient to Donald Trump and not doing your job and being a check on the executive branch, that's going to turn people off. Or if it goes the other way and the Republicans feel like, oh, this is really fucking bad, the Democrats just made this rock solid case and we can't even make a counterpoint to it, so looks like we have no choice but to impeach him. That's the best case scenario. So now that the impeachment proceedings are going forward, do not focus on this Ukraine shit. For the love of God, do not focus on this Ukraine shit. And one more thing. People are acting like Joe Biden is about people in the mainstream media, I should be correct. People in the mainstream media and corporate Democrats are trying to act like Joe Biden is about to walk away from the scotch-free. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Whether actual criminal investigations are opened up into what Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were doing, or if it's just Donald Trump hammering this case away at the bully pulpit and blasting Joe Biden, making an ass of Joe Biden on this issue for the entire country to see. Joe Biden is, he's already spiraling out. But if you add this on it, and he's gonna have to be going toe to toe with Donald Trump every other day on this issue where he's actually wrong. Joe Biden ain't making it out of this one. He's not making it out of this one. So this story is just annoying as all hell. The hypocrisy is through the fucking roof. They broke the meter, but that's what it is. This is Nancy Pelosi's red line. This is where she says enough is enough. Trump gone too far. It wasn't the genocide in Yemen. It wasn't slaughtering innocent women and civilians. It wasn't bombing hospitals and mosques. It wasn't bombing school bus, killing 40 kids. It wasn't the increasing drone strikes by 430%. It wasn't dropping more bombs in Afghanistan than the entire duration of this 17-year war. He did it in his first year in office. He dropped more bombs than the entire duration of the war. It wasn't that. It wasn't the fact that he dropped the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan, which is the biggest non-nuclear bomb we have in our arsenal. That wasn't what was Nancy Pelosi's red lines for calling for impeachment. It wasn't that he's outright, his administration is just outright brazenly trying to start a World War III with Iran. It wasn't that. That's not the red line. It wasn't that he's trying to do a coup in Venezuela, illegal regime change. It's not that. It's not that he, in the most corrupt way, gave an absurd $1 trillion tax cut to the richest people in the country, paid for by the working class and anyone making less than $75,000 a year. It wasn't that. It wasn't the fact that he's trying to destroy healthcare in the United States. None of that rose to the level of, wow, we have to get this guy out of office. It is this bullshit Ukraine story in defense of Joe Biden because Donald Trump took shots at an elite in the Democratic Party and they are not going to stand for it. So that's why they're doing this impeachment proceeding, even though it makes absolutely no sense, even though Joe Biden might actually end up looking worse than Donald Trump at the end of this. They'll do it anyway because they cannot stand Donald Trump coming after one of their own. So, goddamn, this is the state of affairs.